Panic attacks are quite common. They usually start with symptoms like your heart suddenly racing, your chest feeling tight, you may have blurred vision or feel lightheaded, and you're sure something terrible is about to happen. And like many people, you may even wind up in the emergency room getting your heart checked. And after the fact, you may feel like the doctors are wrong. They must have missed something because surely this wasn't all in your head. I want to help you understand exactly what's happening in your body and your mind when panic strikes, because when you understand it, you can begin to take back control. Then I'll share with you 3 powerful tools to help you stop a panic attack when it starts and even prevent future ones. And stay with me until the very end because I have an extra bonus strategy for you. I'm Eddie Traughber, a licensed marriage and family therapist with 3 decades of experience helping people overcome issues like anxiety, panic, and fear through both biblical truth and sound counseling practices. Every week, I share practical tools and faith-based insights to help you build emotional resilience, renew your mind, and find peace that lasts. Now let's talk about panic attacks. What's really happening in your body, what the Bible has to say about fear, and how to find calm again when everything in you feels out of control. A panic attack is a sudden surge of intense fear that feels completely out of proportion to what's happening around you. It often comes without warning. You may feel like your heart is racing, you can't catch your breath, your chest is tightening, your vision narrows, your hands tremble, or you get lightheaded. Some people feel heat rush through their body or cold tingling in their fingers. Mentally, it can feel like you're about to die, or faint, or lose your mind. And here's what's actually happening. When the brain perceives danger, real or imagined, it triggers the fight, flight, or freeze response. Your body floods with adrenaline and cortisol to prepare you to survive. But in a panic attack, there's no real threat, just a false alarm. Your nervous system goes into overdrive even though you're safe. The amygdala, the part of your brain that handles fear, hijacks the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, so you can't think clearly, you just feel terror. Psalm 55:5 actually captures this feeling perfectly. Fear and trembling have beset me. Horror has overwhelmed me. That's the ancient description of a panic attack. Even the psalmist understood what it felt like when fear overtakes the body. So let's talk about how to interrupt that cycle, how to bring your mind and body back into peace using both therapy tools and biblical truth. The first tool I want to tell you about is to name what's happening. Psalm 34:4 says, I sought the Lord and he answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. When panic hits, one of the most helpful first steps is to name it out loud. Instead of saying, something's wrong with me, say, this is a panic attack. My body is reacting, but I'm not in real danger. That simple statement reframes your experience and begins to pull you out of fear's grip. You're replacing confusion with clarity, and clarity always weakens panic's hold. In psychological terms, naming what's happening engages the prefrontal cortex, that's the rational thinking part of your brain, and helps deactivate the amygdala, the fear center. Panic thrives in confusion, and when you define it, you disrupt it. Many of my clients tell me that simply identifying it as a panic attack rather than a heart attack, a stroke, or spiritual failure reduces their fear intensity by half within seconds. Your body starts believing what your brain is naming. Psalm 34:4 shows David doing the same thing. He acknowledges the fear, seeks the Lord, and finds deliverance. When you pause and name your panic, you're essentially saying, God, I'm not hiding from this. I'm bringing it into your light. And you might pray something like this out loud. Lord, I'm having a panic attack. You see me, you're here, deliver me from this fear. Each time you name it and invite God in, the darkness of confusion gives way to the light of truth. And when truth enters, fear starts to leave. Now, before I share the next tool with you, I want you to have a free copy of my latest ebook, Faith Over Fear: 7 Biblical Action Strategies for Anxiety Relief. I'll tell you how to get it in just a few minutes. The second powerful tool for dealing with panic attacks is to step toward the fear. Joshua 1:9 says, "Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go." When panic starts, your natural instinct is to run. Leave the store, escape the meeting, avoid driving, or rush for safety. But every time you run, you teach your brain that panic equals danger, and your brain remembers that message for next time. One of the strongest antidotes to panic is gentle exposure, taking a small step toward the fear instead of away from it. You might say quietly, "I can stay here for a minute. This feeling won't kill me." Or, "I've survived panic before. It always passes." And each time you stay instead of flee, you build new neural pathways of safety. You're telling your brain, "This feeling is unpleasant, but it's not fatal." And over time, that repetition weakens the fear response. Panic can't grow in a brain that's learning safety through experience. Now, the Bible is full of people who learned courage not by avoiding fear, but by walking through it. Joshua crossing into the promised land, Peter stepping onto the waves, Paul preaching while he was imprisoned. True courage isn't the absence of fear, it's trusting God while your knees are still shaking. When you sense panic coming, whisper something like this: "God, you're with me right here, right now." You're not pretending it's easy, you're proclaiming His presence. This mindset turns the moment of panic into a moment of practice. You're literally exercising faith in the middle of adrenaline. And remember, courage in the presence of panic is what transforms fear into freedom. Now, the third tool is to release the physical tension. Matthew 11:28 and 29 says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." When panic hits, your body becomes your battlefield. Muscles tighten, shoulders lift, your chest constricts, your body is bracing for impact that never comes. The nervous system basically has 2 gears: fight or flight, which is the high gear, and rest and digest, which is the low gear. And when panic activates the first, one of the fastest ways to switch gears is through physical release. So try this in that moment. Drop your shoulders down away from your ears, loosen your jaw up, let your tongue rest gently on the bottom of your mouth, unclench your hands and let them fall into your lap, and exhale slowly as if you're releasing pressure from a valve. You may even want to stretch your arms outward or gently shake your hands, and those motions physically communicate to your brain that the threat has passed. As you do this, speak these words: "Lord, I release this tension to you. I rest in your care." This is more than body relaxation, it's spiritual surrender. You're acknowledging that you were never meant to carry the burden of self-protection alone. Jesus' invitation in Matthew 11 isn't symbolic, it's neurological. When you take Him up on His offer to come and rest, your body literally starts to shift from panic to peace. Picture yourself setting down a heavy backpack that you've been carrying for miles, and the moment it touches the ground, your shoulders drop, your breath deepens, and your whole body remembers how to rest. Every time you physically let go, your body begins to relearn what your spirit already knows. Peace is possible in His presence. If this kind of faith-based psychological teaching helps you, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss future videos about overcoming anxiety, panic, and fear through both science and scripture. And don't forget to download your free ebook, Faith Over Fear: 7 Biblical Action Strategies for Anxiety Relief, using the link in the description below. Now, here's the fourth bonus strategy for dealing with panic attacks, and it's really powerful. Reconnect spiritually after the storm. Philippians 4, 6, and 7 says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, and the peace of God will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." So after a panic attack passes, you may feel shaky, tired, or emotionally drained, and that's completely normal. Your body's just gone through a flood of adrenaline, and now it's calming down. Here's where many people dive deeper into fear and worry. They begin to obsess about it happening again, and their fear takes root. The fear that they sow at that moment may produce a crop of future anxiety and panic attacks. But here is how you can take what the enemy means for evil and use it for good. Right in that moment, when you're calming down and starting to return to a state of normalcy, that's where many people miss the opportunity. That is actually a sacred moment to reconnect with God. The post-panic period is when your brain's most open to reflection and learning. It's the perfect time to process what happened instead of fearing it. Find a quiet moment afterward to sit and reflect or journal what you experienced. Write down what triggered the panic attack, what helped it pass, and how you sensed God's presence in the middle of it. Then thank Him, not necessarily for the panic, but for His peace that held you through it. That act of thanksgiving transforms panic into testimony. It takes something the enemy meant for torment and turns it into training. Over time, you'll start to see a pattern. God was with you every single time. And each time you acknowledge that, the next wave of fear loses a little more power. Gratitude after fear rewires your memory. Instead of remembering panic as trauma, your mind starts to remember it as proof of God's faithfulness. And that's when your story becomes not about the panic itself, but about the peace that followed. So check out one of my other videos to learn more about how to handle anxiety and to grow your peace. And remember this, panic may come suddenly, but peace is never far away. So the next time panic comes knocking, don't fear it, face it with faith, and rest in the truth that God's peace is always greater than your fear. See you next time.